This is former Chicago Bear Desmond Clark. And y'all hear me on many podcasts, but when y'all hear me on Pick'em Pros, y'all know it's all about family. This ain't just business.
Now it's time for your Pick'em Pros starting lineups. From Glendale, Arizona, the princess of Pick'em Pros and award-winning sports storyteller, Pick'em Pros athlete correspondent Brianna. Lamar Jackson and Los Angeles Lakers apologist, Pick'em Pros sports analyst Christopher C. Payne Davis. From Raleigh, North Carolina, the Carolina Panthers homer and back-to-back NFL picking champion, host and picking guru of Pick'em Pros, Diego Thompson. From Warrenville, Illinois, the winner of Season 1's NFL picks, the host and head coach of Pick'em Pros, Derek Thompson. Now, coming to you live from the Pick'em Pro studio, here are your Pick'em Pros.
Making plays is our profession. Do it big, it's now or never. I got game like I'm moving clever. We be reaching all different levels.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. You know who it is. I am Derek Thompson.
I'm Diego Thompson.
I'm Mike Sims.
I'm Christopher C. Payne Davis.
And who are we?
We are Pick'em Pros.
We are the Pick'em Pros coming back at you in the house with a special episode of Who You Got. Oh, man, episode 136 coming to you from the studio here. Thank you to everybody that makes Pick'em Pros go. We got a fire show as we talk about the NBA Conference Finals. So, man, we've got, again, like we said, we got our special guest here in the house. We got the man who was the first ever guest on Pick'em Pros, Mr. Michael Sims.
That's right.
How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. Excited to be back. I can't believe y'all waited so long to get the Detroit feel back in the house. It's all about the D, baby. It's all about the D.
That's right. All about the D, man. Detroit, baby. Yeah, representing. Shout out to all the Detroit fam and our guy, Michael Sims, author Michael Sims, amongst many other things. So we'll be telling you about the book that he has here, Leadership, at the little later in the show. And then we got our other guest, C. Payne, Christopher C. Payne Davis here.
Yes,
how you doing, my man?
Doing good. It's been a wonderful Friday. You feel me? I'm really excited for this game tonight, and to wonder why y'all still sleeping out on the Pacers. You feel me?
Yeah.
You know, and just remember who made the Pacers pick, and everybody looked at him like he was crazy. But hey,
one game, dude.
Let's see.
All right. We gonna get into that, and then Diego, my man. So, you know, clearly, C. Payne teed that up. We're gonna talk about the Pacers. Are they for real? They had that what some people are saying miraculous comeback in MSG the other night.
Call it a no pressure win. That's what I like to call it.
Yeah. I like that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Great show. A lot of fireworks here. So to give you the rundown, first we're going to talk about who is more like MJ. All right. Is it SGA or is it Ant-Man? So we see that's a fun debate. Some people are trying to say, oh, nobody, you can't compare anybody to Michael Jordan, except Kobe, or nobody, all that kind of stuff. Look, I grew up in the Jordan era. I grew up seeing Michael Jordan play in the old Chicago Bulls Stadium. So I'm more than qualified to talk about this. So we're going to talk about that. All right. We've got the Pacers, again, making their magical carpet run here. Are they going to make it to the finals? We're going to talk about that. C. Payne thinks so. And we're going to see where Mike falls on that. We've got OKC. All right. Are they the next 90s Bulls? All right. Again, some people think that's blasphemous. So we're going to talk about that. All right. Then we've got AAU basketball. Is that the reason why we have all these freaking injuries in the NBA right now? Let's talk about that. And then last but not least, who's going to be in the finals? We've got the Final Four. Who's going to be in the NBA finals? We'll talk about that. All right. Yeah. Y'all ready for a fire show?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Yep.
All right. Well, let's get on into it. Let's start with our first one. We're going to talk about who is more like Jordan, okay? Is it Ant-Man or SGA? Diego, why don't you go on and kick us off on this one, man?
Well, it's definitely SGA. SGA is more like Jordan. First of all, it's the consistency. Last 3 years, averaged 31 points, 30 points, and 33 points, about 5 or 6 rebounds a game in these seasons. On over 50% shooting all these seasons. Those are Jordan-type numbers. And all of Jordan's MVP seasons with the Bulls, and they were in championships, he was averaging at least 50% at like 49, 48%, stuff like that. So I like that. And the killer instinct I see poise between them both when they play. Just the winning teams, how they're able to lead their teams to wins while still being like they're on good teams, but they're clearly the leaders. And the mid-range game, just getting open for mid-ranges, I see a lot of the similarities in those two.
Yeah, I see it. Well, Mr. Sims, let's go to you. And again, you grew up bad boy Pistons.
That's
so
right.
Y'all used to beat up the old Michael Jordan.
That's right. We didn't beat him up. That's right. We made him who he is today. We made him who that whole documentary. It wasn't even about Jordan. It was about the Pistons. He still got it in his blood. I noticed Diego gave the statistics or whatever, right? But you got to take two things. It's the statistics, the numbers, but you also got to take the eye test. All right. And it's a little bit of actually both of them. If you really look at it, especially how when Ant go to the hole, when Ant want to go to the hole and Ant want to just flush it on somebody, you don't see that as much. You know, everybody still do their dunks, but when you still flush it on somebody, that's a whole different ball game. And that's one of the things that makes Ant-Man a little bit more like Jordan. The statistical numbers for Alexander is there, but I look at Ant with the eye test and just how he carries himself, his swag going around the floor. You know, he don't get the tongue stuck out, but it's just a certain little, movement in his body that he get, just like Jordan used to get when he used to start rocking back and forth and he started getting that and he come up on that back leg and stuff, or you see him cock back to go back with that step back. Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both of them, The inside joke, of course, is that he looked a little bit like Jordan. So
that's right.
Let's get it out on the table.
Oh man,
let's get it out on a little bit on the
looks
table.
Like he could be Jordan's son.
Let's call it out.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. And I will say, before we throw it to you, C-Payne, I hadn't been as excited about the NBA as I was in the first round last year when Ant-Man was losing his mind against Phoenix. I hadn't been that excited since the Jordan days, the way he was taking over. So I will just throw that nugget in there. All right, C-Payne.
So I will say that they're reminiscent of two different eras of MJ. I would say that Ant is more the rookie MJ before the dynasty, before the team's fully formed. For me, especially, it's I'm gonna do the best I can, but again, he's always running into teams that he might not necessarily be able to overcome.
Okay.
Then we get to SGA with a fully formed OKC team, with a bunch of star players around him who can also assist him, with a Caruso, with a Chet Holmgren, with a Jalen Williams, and having that full team together, I think that is more reminiscent of, of the 90s Bulls, which we're going to talk about later. But I think that Shai is more indicative of being a leader of that type of team because he has gone through the ups. I mean, with the Clippers and him, learning who he was, going to the Thunder, having CP3 really train him and kind of help elevate his game, and then just seeing SGA really grow and fully blossom into his own with a great team. I think he's more reminiscent of the dynasty Jordan, where it's okay, you're gonna trust that he's gonna kill, but there's a bunch of other people around him that can definitely help him out.
Yeah, that's a great point. You all make fantastic points. So you definitely did your homework. I love where you're all coming from. And I agree with many parts of what you all have said. I feel that Ant definitely resembles the 80s Jordan.
Yes.
I think he's the 80s Jordan. Yes. SGA is more the 90s Jordan. That's how I see it. And the way he, gets to the whole charisma, all of that, and definitely resembles early Jordan. But SGA, man, I feel it's funny. We want to, we've got the whole overrated, underrated conversation. I feel SGA is underrated right now, especially with all the hate and slander that he's getting from the free throws and whatnot. Man, people are not appreciating what he's doing. It's very similar to how people didn't appreciate what Joker was doing before Joker. Joker had to get the title. There's a whole bunch of revisionist history going on. A lot of people, myself included, didn't appreciate Joker until he got that chip.
Oh, absolutely.
And I feel that's what's happening with SGA. We want to discredit all that he's doing and say, oh, he's on a great team. Oh, he's got this. Now, for one, we're not giving the coach nearly enough credit of OKC. That coach is doing his thing for sure. But to stay on topic here, man, SGA's poise, the way he just, when he gets fouled, just gets up, goes to the line. the killer instinct, everything I'm seeing. I love what I'm seeing with his game right now. He's reminded me a lot. You're just seeing it in a slightly different package. You're seeing it in the same height, 6'6", lanky, but he's more slender. So I think if he was a little thicker, you'd see more of that. And if he was a little more demonstrative like Ant, you'd see that. And with the leaping, but Jordan had more of the mid-range game, the fadeaway, all of what you're seeing in the championship years is what you're seeing with SGA.
Yeah, to your point, if you think about it in the 90s, and as you're saying it, I'm thinking about it a little bit more. He didn't, when he got in the 90s, and had more to do with the longevity of his career because he took a lot of pounders, Pistons.
Yes.
But he got to the basket more on twos, not as much of those thunderous dunks.
Right.
A lot of those dunks where you see him on the Knicks and all those like you said, were done in the 80s or whatever. When he got to the 90s, and Jordan never got, he gets credit for everything else, but just his ability to get to the basket. Alexander, SGA can get to the basket. I think it's just phenomenal. Statistically, it's just crazy how he's able to get to the basket.
Yes. Yeah,
SGA, he can get to the basket for sure. It's just not like the dunks and like all that stuff, and that's what people, are kind of slandering on a little bit. But he just gets there so smooth.
He does.
Like that, yeah.
He does. It's not all that flash and excitement. So at the end of the day, because that's what we're used to seeing. But to your point, which I think is good, once he gets that award, and that chip, because I do think, I ain't gonna get on that right now, but they're gonna get it at the end and stuff, right? That's gonna put him up there.
Yeah, for sure. I feel his career is gonna age very well, even when it's over. When you look back and you look at the numbers, his career is going to age amazing. Just like Joker's career. His career has already aged amazingly just over the last couple of years. He's like a legend already. And again, this is not a shot. So when you lead someone, this is not a shot. Sometimes it's a shot, right? But I don't feel like LeBron's career is going to age very well.
Oh man!
When we look at it,
I agree with you. I actually agree with
not
you.
A shot.
Right, because you're speaking from, please correct me if I'm wrong, you're speaking from the expectations on a lot of that which he put out himself or whatever. So when you don't reach that, at the end of the day, that's what history kind of looks at on what you didn't necessarily achieve.
Right.
And a lot of those expectations he put on, because let's be honest, we're supposed to be looking at all these chips with the Lakers. It ain't happening.
Yeah. And also my also point, that's a great point with LeBron, you're going to look at, okay, what did he do well? What was he amazing at? He was not a great shooter. Was not a great, passing was his main thing. Again, great leader. What I think he should get the most credit for is the expectations that he came into the league with.
Yeah.
The expectations that he had was totally unreal. And he surpassed the expectations. So that you cannot give him enough credit for that. But I just feel when you look at it down the line, especially when the next generation comes, and then when we compare, we have to nitpick. And I feel that when we nitpick, there's going to be a lot to pick at. So that's why I say I don't think it's going to age as well as some of the others. That's the only reason why I say that. So it's truly not a shot.
Never won a defensive player of the year either. And like
just
things like that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. So great conversation. But definitely want to hear your comments on this. If you have any questions, let us know. Summer fire those up if we have anything, and we will definitely try to attack those. But it's going to be great. This is something that we'll come back and revisit. So I feel we're early on this, just like our conversation that we're going to have in the third block when we talk about OKC and them reminding us of the Bulls. Again, people are going to think that's crazy, but I really, really feel we'll be able to rewind this show and play this years from now. People are going to say, wow, they were really ahead of it on this. So we will see. All right. Well, let's get to another fun one. Let's get to the Pacers, the team that's shocking the world. All right. Let's get to Chris's Pacers here. So now, Diego, you've got, we're going to start with you. You've got some videos that are out on social media. You made a very bold take. It's gotten a lot of hits where you said that you were still sleeping on the Pacers. Said you hadn't woken up yet. A lot of folks have a lot to say there. And then on cue, the Knicks looked like they had it and then just collapsed at the end, and the Pacers give them credit. they played well in the last few minutes of that game, decided to play, and were able to get lucky and win that game.
Yeah, they were.
So then you on cue the very next day said you woke up from your nap.
Yeah, I
went
woke up.
and you went and looked like on social media you went and bought a Hellcat car.
Yeah,
with all the money that you're about to make because you're saying Knicks in 5.
Yeah. I mean, the lines have swung so much. I just figured that was a very well way to spend my money.
Okay, yeah. All right. All right. So what's your take on the Pacers, man? They are you still sleeping on the Pacers?
I'm still asleep. Actually, I just woke up to do this show because I felt like I had to do that for the fans. But yeah. Other than that, I was still asleep. So yeah, they got lucky. When they're down like 50 points and towards the end of the fourth quarter, they're better than the Bulls. So that's just what they do. Neesmith with his Jumpman threes. Because I call him that because he kicks his legs out super wide, like the Jumpman logo.
Yep.
Halliburton. They will not win another game. Knicks in 5. Knicks got clutch player of the year, Jalen Brunson. He's gonna show out again. He's gonna get some help from the rest of his supporting cast. And they're locked in, because they know that when they're up a lot, they gotta hold on to it because the Pacers will play with no pressure, like amazingly.
Yes.
So they just got to.
They're one of the best.
They're just gonna hold on to the lead. Now they know it's learning, and that's why Knicks in 5. Yeah, give them a game.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, gave them a game, and now and all they have to do is just protect the ball at the end of the game, and it's easy money at this point.
Yeah, easy money.
Okay, all right, okay.
Defense too.
All right, Mr. Sims.
What you saw the other night was let's be honest. Knicks are the better team. Indiana is saying, hey, we didn't even know we're going to be here, but we're going to give it all we got right on to the end. And that's what happened. Now, what has happened even more, and I hate to say this, as much as I hate to say this, I see Indiana coming out of this because now it just gets tighter. What is that? Is that my hands going up around my throat? Oh! Is that a Reggie Miller? And I just think that, and I'm gonna tell you what Jalen Brunson done to my Pistons gave me a lot of respect for him. But it's so. Can you imagine? Can you imagine being Madison Square Garden right now in New York? Period. It's bonkers right now.
Yeah,
they got so much pressure on them. Did you see all those Hollywood and old sports elites in there? Everybody was in there, and that pressure starts going because there's no way in the world. What was it? 17-point lead that they had right there.
I believe 17-point lead.
There's no way they should have lost that. There's no way. And now, guess what? Indiana said even more. Hey, we good to go. We all loosey goosey. We can just go on and play. And I just think that's just going to help them out even more. And I just see Indiana, as much as I hate to say this, not an Indiana fan, nothing for them, nothing against them, but I think they're going to come out of this.
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, it was definitely the who's who in Madison Square Garden the other night. There were people that I didn't even know were still alive. They were there at the game. So it was pretty impressive.
So when they come out of the grave, they came out. They looked and said, "Oh, the Knicks is in. I'm coming up out the grave. I gotta get there."
They had some legends in the building.
Indiana's expected to win now, so they're gonna fold. Yeah, that's what they do.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, listen, I'm very excited with what the Pacers team did. And again, we can say that the Knicks collapsed, they felt the pressure. But again, when you're playing with house money your entire playoff run and nobody thinks you're there, it does give you an unbridled, reckless confidence. Obviously having a layup and then running back out to try to hit a three. You think you hit the three and then you hit the Reggie Miller choke while Reggie Miller points at you, which again, all-time basketball moment. And again, if we're on certain players that I'm a fan of not being willing to take that shot, I think that we should give a certain player more credit for being willing to take that shot in Tyrese Halliburton. And he's really been performing and elevating this team. And really, there's games where he's not the best scorer, but again, what he does as a facilitator, as the engine of that team, is something that we have to commend. But we also have to think about how well Pascal Siakam plays. Aaron Neesmith literally getting them to that moment with 5 straight threes, which again, that's an all-time heater. I don't think we've like ever seen in like basketball ever.
Yeah,
So I do think that they're so well-rounded, and because they can bring you to the ground, and of course, because Tibbs doesn't go to the bench, you know that those players get dog tired if they're getting run over and over and over again because he's not subbing anybody out. So the only way that the Knicks can really win the series is if the bench scoring does help out, does improve. Because I feel like, again, with the Pacers, they could go so deep that you don't really have to, like, you can rest a bunch of your starters versus them. They're relying on their 5-6 guys, and that's not a successful way for them to win.
Well, you know what was interesting about that run in the fourth quarter was that the Knicks made that crazy run when Brunson went to the bench.
Yeah.
He got in foul trouble.
Yeah.
He got in foul trouble.
That's true.
He had, I don't know if it was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And went
5
to
fouls.
the 5 fouls. Yeah, it was 5.
Yeah.
Went to the bench, which I thought they should have kept him in. And then I think they were up 2-3 points right around there. So it's like, okay, let's just try to keep it even. And that's when they extended it to the huge lead. But then it got too good to him. Because then you got Cat. God bless him. God bless him.
Talk about Cat.
Being Cat, looking at his hand, looking at his veins, looking at the crowd, standing over, just all the antics. And yeah, that did not help. They got a little help from the refs. There. Hey, shout out to Coach Rick Carlisle, one of the best in the business. He did a masterful job with his challenges. He is a great coach. A lot of respect for him. And what I will give them, I feel the Knicks still win this. I think they win it in 7. I feel that the Knicks take care of business tonight, and then they split in Indy. And then I think it's just home. I think the home team wins. That's how I feel the rest of this series will play out. So it's going to be Game 7, Madison Square Garden, to go to the finals, and the Knicks pull it out, and that's going to be their championship. Like they might as well just have a parade and just lose their mind. And you know what? I wouldn't even be mad at them. If they
it's been so long, and again, that Knicks crowd, you can see that. They're gonna celebrate. They're gonna celebrate that just by going to the finals.
They're already named. They named streets after some of the players after winning the last series.
That's crazy.
The street.
So just ride that out. Go ahead and have a parade because we already know what's gonna happen when they face OKC. Yeah. So just have your parade. I would not.
They're probably getting swept.
I do think that everybody knows what Indiana, who's as far as highest shooting percentage, right, is Indiana right now for the playoffs. They're at 50%. Okay. I'm saying that to say they're never out of any game. If you look through this playoff series, all the games, and I think they've only lost 2, but they've never really been out. So I'm saying that your 7th game could probably be a real scenario here. It's just going to be a matter of, again, you're going to see another launch up and hit the back of the rim and it drops in. And then they win in Madison Square Garden.
Now, thank goodness. My only thing with that game is thank goodness that his toe was on the line. Because if that shot actually won the game and it was in that fashion, then I would have been devastated. Because for a second, if I'm real, I was devastated for a minute because I was sitting there like, I know this didn't just happen. My whole body went numb.
It went down to Madison Square Garden floor.
No. And then his toe was out. I was like, thank you. Thank you. And then, of course, they still didn't pull it out. But at least it wasn't on
It wasn't like that.
Oh, man.
With him doing the choke sign, too?
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
That was scary.
Very Dukish.
Yeah, very much. Very much. All right. All right, cool. Well, let's move on to the next one, y'all. Let's go to, again, back to OKC here. All right. Are they the next 90s Chicago Bulls, Diego? We've been talking a lot about this at home, off camera, in the car. I've just, throughout your childhood, you've seen countless videos of the Jordan Bulls, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, Phil Jackson, all of them. So even though you're young, you've been doing this for 4 years, you've been doing this since you're 11. You're very well versed with the Bulls. Hold on, let me look at the comment here. Professor, let's read this here. So Professor says, OKC is the total package. The championship is signed, sealed, and delivered by Motown. Okay. All right. Yes, sir. Yes. Shout out to Professor on that. All right. So Diego, go ahead and tell us, man.
Yeah, OKC, they're definitely the next Chicago Bulls. I mean, it's like SGA more resembles Jordan. Jalen Williams, he's really the perfect small forward. He's tall, long wingspan, strong, can really do everything, shoot, pass, get points in the paint. And it's like that. You add like a 7'1" center with a quick step and a shot, which is just like total boost to their team.
Yes, check.
And like I see definitely, I wouldn't predict 6 because that's pretty crazy. Yeah. I'll say definitely 3 championships for sure, and definitely the next dynasty of the NBA. And SGA will be an all-time great by the end of his career. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
With the West being so loaded, because when you look at those old dynasty teams, when you look at the Lakers, the West was weak back then. They had had a cakewalk every year to the finals. Yes. It was a shock that Houston beat them that one year and played the Celtics that year.
That was Elijah Wan, wasn't it?
Yes. I think when they had the Twin Towers.
That's right.
Right.
Sampson.
But a lot of people say they just didn't want to play that Celtic team that year.
Right.
And then now with the East, with the Celtics, now the Pistons came of age a little later. And then, you have the Sixers and whatnot. So I'd say, if anything, the Celtics had a rougher run during their reign, and that's why they got 3. So I think the Celtics' reign resembles more of what the OKC Thunder will be, and that's why they got 3, because the East was a lot tougher. But yes, to your point,
that's a big part, because the West is so stacked.
So loaded.
Some of these other guys, probably like Cooper Flag, maybe Wemby, some of the guys coming up to get one.
Yeah.
So, but I think Thunder are going to be the clear dynasty front runners.
And if they get 3 in this era, I think that would be big.
Just the roster construction, the defense, the coaching, the general managing.
Okay.
It's all about the eye test. Again, it's all about the eye test. And I'm quite sure you young bucks have got to look at the video.
Yep.
I think 2 of us up here qualified to see it live. They do look a lot like the 90s, and we're just going to talk about the team construction. Bulls, more from a defensive standpoint. If you watch them, and if you're seeing what's happening with Minnesota, right now, Minnesota hasn't been able to score. Where did most of their points come from? Inside the paint. They haven't been able to score. Right. The reason, if you watch them, it is so much, you're on point like the Bulls. They actually are playing a man-to-man, but it's a cheap man-to-man. What do I mean by that is, if you watch them, watch the next game, they don't get right up on their man, right? They're waiting for somebody to come in to the paint. And the minute they come into the paint, they collapse. Now, different ones, outstanding coaching. They know who collapses when, whatever. So nobody, all right? That's why when Ant does that little move and he goes to turn, somebody's already there on the other side. They already know who's supposed to. They have done it enough in practice. If you go back to the 90s Bulls or whatever, it was the same thing. That's why you would see, and even with the Pistons did. That's why you would see you remember this, the scoring would go way down during the playoffs. Right now, I think Indiana Pacers they're the ones lead. They're like averaging 119 points a game right now in the playoffs. You didn't have that in there. You had 80 something, 90 something averages back there, but that was because of the defense. And Oklahoma is showing, I got to give it to them, they're playing defense. They are playing defense.
They are. Great point.
And with everything you guys said, I really think that with the way the West that it is, and the fact that they have so many picks, where even if something goes wrong on their quest to a dynasty, they could still try to swing a big star, because shoot, they got picks where you gotta wait for a middle schooler for real. So if there's like a team with a superstar and they're like desperate enough, they'll just be like, hey, like, we'll just give you this pick and like, maybe 2030 so that we can, keep this thing rolling. So that's the scary thing about this team, is even though they're already constructed really well, if they were like, hey, even if we win the championship, let's take a big swing, and there are a bunch of big fish out in the offseason this year, which does scare me. And there are certain people who I don't want to go to the West, namely Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think that there's so many players. They have so many good assets who've like already proven themselves. And again, because they're such a young team, there's so much young talent. If there were a trade package for like a bigger star, let's say they like somehow mess around and lose conference finals. What if they're like, hey, maybe what we had isn't good enough. Let's just try to take a swing, which again is more scary. So with what they already got, I mean, shoot, apparently last night they like tied the KD Warriors for the most double-digit wins, like playoffs and regular season combined. I don't know if anybody understands how scary that is because outside of the 90s Bulls, everybody considers that 17 Warriors team the greatest team of all time. So if they're having that type of history, one of the greatest teams of all time. Sorry, I saw your face. I saw your face. Listen,
I'm just saying we all know the it was 88-89 Pistons was the greatest team of all time.
Got you. But yeah, I think that when it comes to the fact that that's still a potential thing, even in the midst of their dynasty, that does make them more interesting and scary for the long run in the future, especially in the West.
Okay, great points. And before we switch to the next topic, and I'm gonna talk on this. Let's talk about the freak for a minute and where he's gonna go. So let's talk about that. But before we go to AAU, let's talk about that. Did you have something you were gonna say before?
I was gonna say I don't think OKC needs a new star. You know what I'm saying? I think they want to keep the roster construction and defense and like that whole thing because the cap isn't going to get messed up because you got Chet, you got Jalen Williams. They're going to get paid too, just like SGA. So I think they're just going to keep it rolling with this crew.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now Summer, can you put Dwayne's comment back up? So this is Dwayne. Now this is the ultimate. There's no bigger Bulls fan than this man right here, Dwayne Thompson. Okay, Dwayne Thompson, my brother. All right. So again, he says OKC needs to win 6 titles in 8 years to be the Bulls. Because again, you don't want anybody to come and be compared to them. So I get that. But no. See, Dwayne, you weren't old enough to go to the games, right? So you couldn't go. All right. I got to go. All right. So I was there at the stadium. So shout out at you. All right.
I'm also a fan coming off a dynasty team, and that's just saying that this era is over and it's going to be OKC.
But yeah, man, these guys again, they were groomed. So again, we've got to give credit to the old Bulls for how this team is being constructed. Sam Presti actually was groomed under Jerry Krause.
Wow.
Yes. So there is some connection there, right? And so it all starts with him. Man, the way he's constructed this. And so with the picks and all the assets that they have, again, I don't see them taking a big swing because I think they want to stay relevant and have that long dynasty. What's going to happen is, but when some of the role players get priced out, that's where all those picks are going to come into play. Yeah, so they're just going to stay ahead. So they're just going to stay loaded, and he's going to continue to draft well and continue to draft to keep that bench deep.
Right.
That's how he's going to do it. And that's also why I see the comparison. That's why so many other people don't see it yet. Because again, you got to see the 3-4 titles in. But if you just look at the construction, it's all there. It's pieced perfectly. Like Diego said, you've got SGA, the MVP, a 30-point, 50% field goal shooter. That's Jordan-esque. Again, Kobe shot 44%. Okay, Kobe was more of a volume guy. All right. You look at Jalen Williams, what his makeup, his body, the way he plays defense, he's long, lanky, can handle the ball. He doesn't get ripped in traffic like Tatum and Brown do, right? He's able to control and go into traffic and whatnot. It's not just one-on-one. You've got, again, the amazing bench. You've got Chet. We're sleeping on Chet, man. Chet, dude, man. He's what, 23 maybe? 23. Oh, my God. Again,
and the dunks he's been having, man.
Injury is the only thing that can derail this dude.
Right.
Man, he's quick. His first step is lightning fast. You watch him. There's about 3 or 4 moves he makes every game where I go, dang. You know what I mean? At that size, it's ridiculous. So I'm just looking at where he's going to be because he's just scratching the surface. Oh, my gosh. The coach to then the city. Only city in town. That fan base is rocking. They've got the loudest stadium like the Bulls did.
Yeah.
It's like I say, if there's so many similar, if you just go boom, the GM, the coach, the construction, the city, everything, I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I've seen it. I'm telling you, it's a lot there. So we're gonna be coming back to this.
Curry and LeBron better retire, man. It's about to get
rough. Well,
it's about to get rough for them.
Oh.
LeBron may want to retire, but I don't know about Curry just yet.
Yeah, he's got to. I'm a Warriors fan. He's got to retire. Like it's just over.
I don't know. I think he may want to stick around, only because I really think the Warriors are going to get the freak.
Really?
I really think they're going to get the freak.
I mean,
I think they're going to get the freak.
Even if we get the freak, it's over. Like,
what happened?
It's okay. Like in that game 7,
in
game 7, like my whole mindset just changed. Like I just totally saw the changing of the guard, like right there on the TV screen. Like, it was just like I lost all hope. Like when I saw that.
I actually agree with Diego to some
it's
extent.
the new era, man. Like
I actually agree with him to some extent. I kind of saw that. I just felt like that, Curry, one thing about Father Time, as everybody knows, he's undefeated.
That's true.
And I just think that Curry, because of his size and his body, I just don't think he could take another 80. You talking about another 80-something game season.
That's true.
The pounding that he takes. And then I just think that he's going to be, once that injury thing starts happening, it starts going boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
It's just like Kyrie. I think Kyrie is just about
I worry about Kyrie a little bit.
I do think they would have beat the Wolves if they had Curry, but it does say something that he did get hurt and like that he probably just can't do it anymore. Like make these deep playoff runs.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me, again, it was a totally different injury, but it reminds me when Isaiah got hurt.
Oh yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. And that's and it's funny I didn't think about that. That's an outstanding example. Because again, you go back and it was that ankle, and everybody was like, at first they were like, oh yeah, they're gonna come back, and Isaiah, he talks about it. He couldn't. It's just something because of that age. Yeah, you start getting those injuries at that, at that age or whatever. Stuff. That stuff. Yeah. And that 80, they got 80. That 80-something game season ain't no joke.
82.
It ain't no joke.
Miami. And normally, once it depends. I mean, they've got the best doctors and whatnot, so he's really going to have a great stretching regimen. But the test is going to be, does he pull it again? If he can get through and not pulling, and was it a one-time thing, or is it going to be a reoccurring?
Yeah, it could. With hamstrings, that's definitely how it could be. But I think since he's had one, it might just because you won't really understand how it is when you actually get one. Like I had one, it was like that was tough.
Yeah. Okay. All
right. You can just look at me. It's just
look at you. Just excited.
He had that tailbone at the end of the regular season. And he came back, but then he had another one. So that was tough.
Okay. All right.
I'm just surprised Diego's giving up on the Warriors. He was talking all spicy. We about to win the championship.
Nah,
we about to, Steph's going to be the GOAT. All that. What happened, man? Yeah. Wow. Game 7 versus Jokic.
I actually rank him ahead. I do rank him ahead of LeBron, though.
Curry?
Yeah.
I won't even do that, but I mean, I definitely like it.
What do you think, C-Pang? Do you think Curry or LeBron?
I ain't buying that because that dude got injured a lot and and regardless of how y'all feel about Kevin Durant being with the Warriors and Steph's gravity, I get it. Kevin Durant is still one of the greatest scorers of all time, and he joined a 73-9 team. And they say that this team, which was supposedly needed to be better than the Chicago Bulls, because they lost 3-1 to LeBron, were like, hey, let's hire this mercenary. And then
But
you're acting like
if you're going to do that,
they did win before and after.
But if you're going to do that, you have to do the same thing with LeBron going over with D Wade and the rest of them.
How can we do that when LeBron's hopped around all over the league, east, west, north, south, everywhere?
That's why I give Curry over LeBron.
Like LeBron handpicks who he wants to play with. Like
he does. That's why I put him over LeBron. I'm not discounting LeBron. He's running around. LeBron's running around. Curry, right, wrong, or indifferent. Again, he can't help it that what's his name came to him or whatever. So it ain't like LeBron. LeBron, he running around.
So we're comparing the Miami Heat to like the Lakers, who were like in a rebuilding phase. Or like
they just got Luka.
No. Before we got Luka, we were terrible before we got LeBron, and then we were like,
we were bringing AD in.
Okay,
Right before then he got tired of him. And then
we're
brought
comparing
in
that to a 73-9 team. That's just all I'm saying. We're comparing every time LeBron team hopped to KD going to a team that is supposedly better than the greatest team anybody's ever seen.
So Steph gets hate for bringing in one all-time great. He's brought in Luka, AD, prime D Wade, prime Bosh, prime Kyrie, prime Kevin Love.
He's right.
Steph gets hate for bringing one guy.
Yeah.
He's right.
He's getting the hate for bringing one guy. I'm acting like a hypocrite. I don't care. For that one guy at that specific time, when he lost 3-1 to those guys, yes, he is getting some
LeBron couldn't get over the hump in the East. So he hopped over to the best team.
Like Stephen A. Smith said, LeBron did get a stimulus package. So with them suspending Draymond.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, this is great. This is great.
Been a fun one.
Oh man. All right. So let's move on to the next one, y'all. Great stuff here. So let's talk about AAU basketball. All right, so we got about 15 minutes left here, and we've got our man Brandon joining us at the end. Okay, so AAU. All right, there's been a lot of injuries in basketball, as we know, but yet we're in the load management era. So being in the load management era, why are there so many injuries? And thinking our last episode, we were like, you know what? Must be due to AAU basketball. So, Diego, man, what's your thoughts? And again, you're currently playing AAU right now. Do you think there's any correlation between AAU and all the injuries that we've seen over the last several years? It's not like it's just happened this year.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see that. Guys like LaMelo Ball, he had his reality show back when he was in high school. Just he played so much AAU. So much, high school basketball. Went overseas when he was just a high schooler. Just played all those reps, and I think that's leading to the injuries he's gotten in his career. Tatum played like AAU. You saw him just tear his Achilles at only like 27, 26 years old. Just all these. Yeah, I definitely see it with the guys in the league now.
And so, and Mike, you again had a son that played basketball, and I know he did not play AAU, but you've been around coaches. I know a lot of people wanted him to play AAU. So what are your thoughts on the correlation?
Yeah, I got some strong opinions about AAU, what it has become. And it's really funny to me because I look at it as, everybody knows Venus and Serena Williams. And if you know the story real quick about their dad, and tennis has, for you to come up in the ranks in tennis, they not only have AAU, they have these circuits, but they play these phenomenal amount of matches. I never knew that. And again, found it through the story from their father. He didn't let them play. That was his big thing. And everybody said to him when he started getting them in playing in the what's called a pro circuit. A lot of people say, well, they haven't had enough time. They didn't play, enough matches, and blah, 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 blah. And the realities of it is they were good, and he concentrated on their fundamentals. And look how long they lasted in tennis. I mean, a long time.
Yes, they did.
AAU does not anymore practice. They don't do anything as far as fundamentals. The number one thing they're looking for is everybody trying to look for that one top person to be on their AAU team, whatever, so that coach can make them a star. They don't teach these guys your kid could be on the AAU team and literally barely get any touches because that one or two stars that they have on there, the coach and all of them is trying to focus on them. And the money you shell out as a parent is insane. I hear these numbers, and these are like real numbers between like $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 or whatever. And you think a lot of where these kids are coming from, and a lot of them don't have that, money to shell out. And they doing, they selling chicken plates and, they doing little fundraisers and fish plates and stuff like that to play AAU basketball, So, I was a proponent and wanted my son I got to give credit to my wife. She really didn't want him to get into all that and mostly concentrate on school because it takes a lot of, when you're doing high school, you're doing AAU and all that, it can really take a lot out of it. But I just think that AAU now has missed its mark, and it's just more of a marketing tool for certain players.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And one thing, and you give it to you, C-Pain. So with Diego, you're playing AAU right now. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I paid $25 to see you play one game.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, something.
$25.
Am I getting bucks? Does this come with a parking pass?
Right.
Am I getting, some food?
Popcorn coming with
whatever.
One night game.
Right.
Crazy.
Like,
And they escorted you to the bleachers, right? You didn't get in those seats. They said, here you go, right here, this nice wood hard seat.
And it was so funny. And then, I pushed back. I was like, man, wow, okay, this is a whole lot. I'm just watching the one game. So they were, it's good for the whole week. You can watch all the games and, all of this. And I even, because they started to get defensive, I was like, look, I'm not even fussing. I just think it's more funny.
Right. Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, it's really gotten out of hand. But C-Pain is all you.
My other thing, and you were talking about the cost, is the amount of barrier of entry for really talented kids who just don't have the money. That's another issue because how many talented kids who could be superstars because they're in adverse situations aren't able to make it as well. And again, with the whole wear and tear it does on your body, because again, you got AAU and then you got them try to go to a D1 college or like be nice at a mid-major, and they might get injured there and they still have to like go through that journey over and over and over again. And it's just like, then you get to the NBA and you're like, okay, 82 game season with all this practice, all these reps. And if you get, let's say you're a high draft pick, you're going to be drafted to a bad team. And in order to sell seats, you're going to have to be playing all 82. So it just builds upon itself over and over and over again, where it's like, okay, are we going to really taking the players' concerns at this point, when it comes to adjusting to the back-to-backs and like what's going on with, because sometimes like with the finals, like with this playoffs, I thought it was crazy that like, that OKC and what was that OKC and Nuggets game where they played like 36 hours after, and everybody's like, oh, why did OKC come out and the Nuggets come out flat? And everybody's like, well, it was 36 hours ago. They just played in overtime. Right. Why are we just like throwing them out there here right now? Like nobody's probably got any good sleep. It's just like, oh, we got to lock in again. So I think that I feel like there has to be a time where we could just like let the players like settle in and let them grow over the years instead of just immediately rushing them and being like, okay, we need you to be our next franchise guy so that their injuries don't start piling up when they're young. Because again, you want these players to be at their best. And I know you want to infuse your team with youth, but you still have to make sure that they're able to adjust to all of this because again, it's the tires and treads thing. You can't, keep running these kids over and over and over again and expect them not to end up hurt.
We had some conversation earlier. Could you talk, Derek, could you mention a little bit about, I hate to say this word or whatever, but back in our day where you had the guys that were paid 3 sports, 4 sports, and could you say something about that?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it as well. So the players are not having a chance to recover in the offseason because they're being forced to pick their main sport. And because you're seeing injuries in all the sports, it's the NFL, it's all of them. You're seeing more ACLs and everything now, Achilles. And it's because they're playing one sport year round and they're not having a chance to rest. And back in the day, right, they would play, your top athletes would play 3, 4 sports. And you're working different muscle groups while you're playing those different sports. So if you're playing basketball, you're working a certain set of muscles. And then when you switch to another sport, your basketball muscles are resting while you're then working other muscles. So that also is another reason why there were less injuries back then and more now, because you're specializing in tennis and then just playing that 24/7. Or if you're football, even though you got a short season in the fall, now you got to freaking play 7-on-7 year round.
Right.
We're like
spring.
Every single time we drive by Clayton High School, okay, we're coming at you, North Carolina. We're in Clayton, North Carolina. All right. Every time we drive by the high school, there's a group playing 7-on-7.
Right.
Like right when basketball season ends. It's
Exactly. I'm like, man, it's May. Why are you playing 7-on-7 right now at midnight? It's the craziest thing. So yeah, it's just everyone's trying to make it to the league and just focusing on one sport and playing that sport year round. And that's why you have that. And then with AAU, you've got the politics and the corruption there, and that's leading to the traveling all over the country and playing in, a whole bunch of tournaments and trying to be seen. And it's laziness from the school standpoint because, they just want to go to a tournament and see all the all-stars play and pick their players from that. When, again, back in the day, you had to travel and go to all the different high schools. It was a big deal.
It was.
When, oh, man, Dean Smith is going to be at Gardner High to see Donald Williams play. And all that, that was a very big deal. And you just don't have that. You don't see these college coaches going to all these high schools anymore.
Even these like prep schools are creating like mini AAU teams during the winter.
That's true.
Because like you had Cooper Flagg's team, Montverde. You had you had 4 guys that are gonna go first round in the NBA.
Yeah.
And another guy could have gone, but then they went another year in college. So
it was funny because I in high school I ran track and cross country. That was my thing, track and cross country. And every cross country season, just when we were just getting started, at the beginning of the season, the basketball, the cross-country season started a little bit before basketball season, but the basketball coach would make the basketball players join the cross-country team and run with us or whatever, right? And someone was pretty good. Actually, we got a little mad just because, someone was taking some spots and stuff, right? Yeah. But they would always drop off because basketball season would start. But now looking back on it and thinking about how it would get them in shape, and you're talking about the different muscles and things like that. Again, I just think constantly. I mean, look at how many games by the time they, and you hear a lot of these basketball dads now, NBA dads who got these sons in these AAs. It's a big deal now. It's playing all of these, Carmelo Anthony's son and a bunch more and all that. But they got them playing so many games before they even get. I still think that's what happened to the ball sons and stuff.
No doubt, no question, no question. No question, no coincidence that none of them can finish the season. From day one, it was like
from
that.
day one,
and
it's publicly known how much ball they played before everybody. They played astronomical amounts of basketball.
Yeah, and then in Europe how physical they are. Like LaMelo Ball going over there, it's just a 16-year-old. Like that had to take a toll on him too.
That's a great point. All right. Well, we got a few minutes left here, so let's talk about the finals. Who's going to be in the final 2, and then we're going to bring Brandon on for his 3-minute recap. Again, big shout out to Lexi's Bussin' Bacon. You can see her website Lexi's Bussin' Bacon on the show right there. Check them out. They have amazing cookies, treats. You definitely want to get all your goodies there, especially this weekend. So please check them out. Much love to Lexi's Bussin' Bacon, our sponsor. All right. So let's talk about the Final 4 here. NBA Finals. All right. So, Diego.
No doubt. Just 2 teams, OKC, New York, both in 5. They'll have a lot of rest, actually, for the first game. So,
a lot of rest.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Quick work.
Because game 1 of the NBA Finals is Thursday, June 5th, no matter what.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So
quick work.
If both teams finish up, then okay. Quick work. All right. That's what you say.
SGA versus Brunson.
All right.
I'll go KC, Indiana. Woo! KC, Indiana. Okay. And I think I'm going to take Oklahoma. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
I have OKC in Indiana as well. I do think that Indiana is going to, listen, I was sticking with the Knicks, but dang. I know I did switch my pick. I've been flip-flopping since the Lakers have been out. Not gonna lie. Yeah. But I've been consistent with OKC, it's just I switched right before.
Right.
But I do think that when it comes to the Knicks, I am concerned because of how Tibbs runs them to the ground. And again, it's when it comes to him having moments of being outcoached in the big spots, that gets a little bit concerning.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I do have OKC and the Pacers. I do hope OKC wins it though, because again, I do think it's going to be a bit more boring finals for everybody. But at least one team, gets to end a championship drought. So that's what I'm glad for the parity for the NBA is that we're on 7 years of being able to have a new champion. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, it would be good to have a new champion. And the Thunder, they remind me a lot of the Bengals. with the standpoint of when the Bengals made their run to the Super Bowl, everyone's like, oh, the Bengals, same old Bengals. Nobody wants to see the Bengals. And then the very next year, everyone was excited to see the Bengals, you know. And I was baffled by it because I'm looking at it, I'm like, the Bengals are stacked offensively.
Yeah,
you got Joe Burrow, you've
Yeah.
got the receivers, you've got Chase,
Yeah.
you got Higgins, you got the tight end. I'm like, why don't y'all want to see the Bengals? This team is stacked, right? And then the very next year, of course, once they made the Super Bowl, everyone wants to see the Bengals. It reminds me of the Rams, the greatest show on turf, right? With Warner and them. Everybody thought snooze fest because they just came out of nowhere and made it to the Super Bowl. Nobody wants to see the Rams. And then the very next year, everybody was hyped about the Rams. Oh, Marshall Faulk, Torrey Holt, you know, all them. And it's just funny. So I think that's the same thing with OKC. They haven't been to the finals yet, even though they're loaded with talent. They got all these highlights. People, you know, it's just that mentality. But when they win the chip, then next year, watch. It's going to be a totally different sentiment. Just like how it's so funny with Denver, right? Everybody felt this way about Denver when Denver was big. Nobody wanted to see Denver. Now, all of a sudden, Joker's the best player in the world and the most exciting player in the world to see. Nobody was saying that about Joker when they were making their run and playing the Lakers. Right? So it's like you got to win it before people then give you that respect and then all of a sudden think that you're an exciting team to watch. Like I said, the only exception to that are the old Spurs. The Spurs just stable.
That's true. That's true. I don't know why. And
it's because Duncan, you know, again, nickname is
His
Big
Fundamental.
So,
you
know.
And it's kind of funny too that I'm not talking about, you know, above Jordan or so there, but it's kind of funny that his name is not even mentioned. But statistically and championship wise, he in there. He in there. He got five. He got five. Easy. But no, never talk about it. Never
talk about it.
Why? Because you're right. You know, and oh gosh, I forgot who it was. But I'm looking right at him too. Steven Jackson. Yeah. He talked about how and you know, if you know how he was, he had a lot of mouth when he's on the court. And he talked like he used to always try to say stuff. He said Tim Duncan never would say anything back. And then he said he was trying to and Tim Duncan did one of those moves and stuff. And he said, good try. He said, good try, fella, you know. And he said he just never, but again, because he didn't bring all that flair, talking trash, going at, you know, so I do think Tim Duncan need to be getting a little sprinkle in that conversation there.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. No doubt. Well, I've got OKC. Knicks. I think Knicks winning in 5. No, sorry, not 5. Now you're getting caught up in Knicks winning in 7. I've got OKC Knicks, and I see OKC winning the title. So that's how I see
OKC
that.
All the way around.
See that going down. Yeah. So it's gonna be wild.
Will not mess up the finals.
No, please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
I'm an agent of chaos. Let's see it. Let's see the mess up.
We're gonna get to Brandon's 3 minutes, and then before we go, we gotta mention your book. So we're gonna do that in just a minute. But next, let's bring Brandon on. I know he's got a lot to say for this 3 minute recap. So let's get Brandon's minute here. Let's bring him on. What's going on, my man?
What's going on, everybody?
All right. Good to see you, man. Everybody's excited to see you as always. So we know we got our 3 minute recap. Now we do have to, we're on a tight time. So at 3 minutes, we do have to run. So we're gonna have to cut you right then, my man. But let's go. Okay. Let's hit the clock. What's your take on everything we talked about? What you want to hit?
Obviously, I do have Thunder and Knicks in the finals. Hopefully the Knicks don't mess it up and make it a Thunder Pacers finals, because growing up, the last one I've seen that was kind of boring was the Nets Spurs finals in 2003. So and I was like, nah, never again. But then the bubble came, so I'm like, like we need like great finals matches. Just how you know when it's a snooze fest in the finals, when they broadcast the finals, you be like, wait a minute, it's the finals?
That's a great point. That's a great point, man.
It's just like it's like they broadcast the finals. I was like, oh yeah, show is the finals. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's how
true.
Snooze Fest is. I think it's just like I respect the Thunder, don't get me wrong. I respect them. It's just I think it's like when you play in a small market environment, it's tough to win over the national media because they look at like the location that you're in and be like, I mean, you got a great player, but the city it's not a glamorous city. So it's like if you're playing, if you're like a Reggie Miller in Indiana or Chris Webber in Sacramento or Tim Duncan in San Antonio, they had the pressure of trying to have success in a non-glamorous city, where it's like they try to win championships in non-glamorous cities. So it's like I think the environment feels that, and they feel like, hey, it's us against the world. So whatever the Pacers and the Thunder feeling, they kind of feel the exact same way, where it's like, hey, the national media, no matter what we do, they're never going to give us respect. We could win the title, and the very next season, we could not be even on the list of teams to win it all.
Right.
Because I remember when Milwaukee had won the title, and the next season's championship odds, Phoenix nor Milwaukee wasn't even on the list.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So I think OKC, Indiana is looking at it like, hey, nobody expected us to win, or nobody expects us to be in this position. Let's try to shock the world and let's prove all doubters. I mean, Pistons did that 3 different occasions, whether it was the 80s or the late 2000s. And they all beat the Lakers. So it's like, I think it comes down to like just understanding the expectations, and they love to be the underdog and overtake that.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Brandon. Well, we're at our time, my man. Well, hey, thank you. Again, we're taking next week off. We got one more thing to hit here, but we'll see you in a couple of weeks, my man. We'll see you Friday, June 13th. All right.
All right.
All right, man. Thank you. All right. Cool. Well, we're gonna get out of here. We are at our time, but before we do that, 2 things that we want to mention. First, we got my man Michael Sims here, man. It's great to have you back. You were the first guest here. All things Detroit, big deal here locally as well. But you are one of the best leaders I know. And so it's fitting that you've written a book on leadership. It's about to drop soon, but why don't you put that in the camera and tell us a little bit about the book that you got dropping?
Yes, so appreciate it. Especially to call out for leadership. I am big on being, people being good leaders. So I was asked for years to write a book. I've been extremely blessed. I spent 21 years in the United States Marine Corps. 9 months of that I spent in Iraq. As far as combat, I worked for Pepsi as a senior account executive, mayor pro tem for the town of Clayton. I've literally ran a Walmart as the store manager. I've been Citizen of the Year. So I've been in a lot of leadership positions. A lot of them, I haven't even mentioned some other ones. But from that, I approached this book from a lot of different leadership aspects, what it takes to be a leader, how you can be a leader, and a lot of stories that I've gotten over the years and stuff. And I really appreciate the fact that, because some of my leadership stuff I've even learned off of you, and you got one of the comments in the forward in the book there too. So it's on Amazon.com. It's called Leading from the Front. The reason why I picked that out is because if you see on the front, there's birds on the front. Every year, birds go down south. The birds know they're going down south, but there's always a bird out front. Out front. Leaders have to be out front, just like that bird. Even though everybody know where they're going, somebody got to be out front. So yeah, it's on your shelf there. It's a good, quick read and something that you can actually use at work. So if you're a leader, want to be a leader, everybody's a leader somewhere. You're leading somebody, even if it's yourself. You're leading somebody somewhere.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes,
Round of
sir.
applause, y'all. Yes.
Leading from the
Like
front.
them. So yes, get that
On
Go ahead
Amazon.
and Cop that on Amazon. Yes. Support the family. Definitely want to get that. So yes, much love having you here. And then one last item. Make sure you go to thepick'empros.com. Go to thepick'empros.com. Get your merch. Got new fire items dropping all the time. So you definitely want to check that out and get all of your gear there. All right. Well, y'all, man, it's been a great show. Great to have all y'all here.
Right.
So good job.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me.
Be off next week, and then the week off, and then we'll be at Kings. Yes, we'll be at Kings, Raleigh, North Carolina. Fire show, fire lineup. We'll all be there Saturday, June 7th. We will be at Kings, and then we've got our final 2 in-studio shows for the season, Friday, June 13th, and Friday, June 20th. All right, as we wrap up the NBA Finals, and then we'll be going into the summertime, and we'll be back for season 4 in the fall, and it's going to be something. Got a whole lot in store for season 4, so we'll be getting ready for that. All right, well, much love to y'all. We're going to get the outro going here, and we will see y'all in about 2 weeks. All right, until then, Pick 'em pros. We'll see you later.
Pick 'em pros is the show you've been waiting for. In the know, kissing clothes and your favorite sport. Let it sell, NFL, NBA, and more. Making your day for sure. Linking and taking tour.
Yeah, game flow, they know. Not your same old, nah. Come and see the double D's, Derek and Diego. Yeah. Dropping the knowledge you want, professional college and on. Locking and follow the fun, a dynamic duo, father and son. You in the mix with the greatest, we'll get you acquainted with Christopher Davis. You stick with the Lakers, but picking your favorites. We changing the game and updating the playlist. Woo! And you know we gotta show love for the ladies and shout out Brianna, the future of females in sports and reporters. So link up and follow to show you supporting. It's a major wave, keeping you up on the latest games, bringing the stats, opinions, and facts, breaking down all the greatest plays. Special guests showing love, all the fans show the same. We the best, #1, you already know the name.
Pick 'em pros is the show you've been waiting for. In the know, kissing clothes and your favorite sport. Let it sell, NFL, NBA, and more. Making your day for sure. Linking and taking tour.
Get started on the right track with a Pick 'em pros anthem. Stop random and dance on tandem. On a pair of sneakers, I was so eager. And a phone call featured on fandom. When it comes to the right pick, they're all psychic. Even keeping psychic. Boom, the activity is seismic. On a mount so high, can't climb it. Wanna be on a team that elevates at a better rate than a featherweight versus a heavyweight. There ain't no better way. Gotta let them demonstrate. Second to none with the numbers that generate. Setting real goals with the extra points like field goals. Never taking defeat like steel toes. And they blowing up on a real though. Without them, you would never know what team is on an island. Every social platform shouldn't be that hard to find them. From the north, from the south, east and west. Just remember that the Father always knows best.
Pick 'em pros is the show you've been waiting for. In the know, kissing clothes and your favorite sport. Let it sell, NFL, NBA, and more. Making your day for sure. Linking and taking tour.